Turnip Crackers, welcome to another wonderful deck profile. Today we have another July special, even though it's not July anymore, with Shiranui. Let's get right into this.
Alright, to start we have 3 Squire. It's your main starter card. Summons this guy, this Spectral Sword Shade. You can also summon the other Spectral Sword. Usually you're going to summon this guy because the level 7 Synchro is quite good. We'll get onto her later, but his effect is also quite good, summoning 2 banished Shiranui monsters. Lets you combo off later. 3 Solitaire, you should know what that one does already. That can summon a Unizombie for first turn Omega, or it can summon the Shade, which gets you 2 more monsters, or it can summon the Sword. Lots of options there. Also, his banish effect is quite good here, summoning one of your banished Shiranui monsters. Spirit Master, 3 of them. He's got the good banish effect, popping a card in the field. He also has a good on summon effect, summoning any of your Shiranuis from graveyard, including the Synchros, which can lead to quite a bit of a jump in your amount of damage on board. 3 Mizukis. One of the bigger plays is to banish it to summon Shade, and then tribute him to summon back the Mizuki, and then link the Mizuki away, putting Mizuki back in the graveyard, effectively getting you monsters out for free. Unfortunately, his effect is only once per turn, but, 2 Sword. It's really only good in the graveyard, and you have a whole bunch of ways to send it, but you can't use it the turn you put it in there. So, and I like to play 2. It could be a one-of, but, it also banishes your monsters from the graveyard, which is handy. 1 Samurai. He's a decent gold Sarko target if one of your starter cards gets negated, because it can add it back from the graveyard to hand. It also has a handy banish effect, so you can banish your Spirit Master on your opponent's turn. 1 copy Unizombie. It's not the focus of this deck, so only playing 1. You can summon it out with Solitaire. It sends Mizuki to the graveyard, standard plays. And 1 copy of Vendroid Core. We're playing 2 copies of Origin, which we'll talk about later. But his actual graveyard effect is pretty decent too, banishing one of your Shiranui monsters, activating an effect, and special summoning itself for extra summons or extra
So do you
levels.
just summon Squire off Solitaire if you're not using Unizombie?
You can only summon tuners, so you either summon the Shade or the Sword.
Okay.
Alright, spells. We have 3 Forbidden Chalice. Just generic negates, so your cards can go off. Gold Sarko. Can activate all of your Shiranui effects, and then you get a card in 2 turns. So one of the better plays is to use it on Spirit Master to pop a card, because they often won't negate the spell. And even if they negate Spirit Master, you still get that Spirit Master back in 2 turns because of Gold Sarcophagus. You can also banish Squire. Her effect lets you cycle, draw 1 card, and then discard 1 card, which is pretty handy. A lot of your cards work in the graveyard. 1 copy of Zombie World in the main deck. There are more in the side deck. It turns everything to zombies. There's a couple restrictions on attacking, like Unizombie. If you use this effect, you can attack with zombies. Most of your monsters are zombies anyway. This is more to mess with your opponent. Copy of Foolish Burial. Pretty self-explanatory. Send Mizuki or any of your monsters to the graveyard. Only 1 copy of Burial. A lot of the times you actually want your monsters banished. Worst case scenario is you have a graveyard full of monsters and no way to banish them. 1 copy of Monster Born, and some staples. Rigeki, Dark Hole, MST. Also playing 1 copy of Enemy Controller. It's just a generic disruption card, but it's also good with Reorigin, which we'll talk about very shortly. Alright, traps. This is the reason you play this deck. Swallow Slash. So you tribute a zombie, destroy 2 of your opponent's cards, and then banish a Shiranui from deck. This can be Spirit Master to pop another card. It can be Squire to cycle. It can be Samurai to add 1 card back. It could be Solitaire to special summon 1 from banished. It's really, really good. Picks apart your opponent's field. Accelerates your strategy. It's why you play this deck, I think. 2 copies of Reorigin. So this lets you just tribute 1 of your opponent's monsters to give yourself a token. The only thing you can't do much with the token, because you can only summon Vendread monsters. That's why the core is here. So you can actually just normal summon it and link away into the Savior. It's also a Vendread monster. You can also tribute it with Swallow Slash because it is a zombie. and you contribute it with enemy controller to get it off your field. 2 copies of Rivalry. It's another combo, or it's not a combo, but it's a 2-card, I guess it's a combo, with Zombie World to prevent your opponent from summoning things if they're not playing zombies themselves. And it's just a generically decent card. It depends on what you're playing against, of course. And then 1 copy of Samsara. It keeps you alive, it recycles your cards, and it doubles Solitaire's effect, Vanish effect, lets you summon 2 monsters. It doesn't come up too often, but it's pretty good when it does. Alright, the extra deck. We have 2 copies of Samurai Saga. That's your generic level 6. His effect really doesn't do much. He's just more used for climbing into the level 8 guy, which we'll talk about in a second. 2 copies of Squire Saga. This is the main one you'll summon. Its effect is all sorts of good. You banish a monster from your field or graveyard, which doesn't target, and then you can gain a bunch of effects. Mostly you'll be just banishing a zombie, not a synchro, and be able to pop a spell or trap without targeting, and give your monsters a small buff. But if you banish a synchro too, you get to destroy a monster without targeting, and it's quite good. These monsters all have the same restriction, you only summon them once per turn, but that's why we're playing different levels and not 3 of each. 2 copies of Shogun Saga. When he's summoned, he banishes a zombie from graveyard and gains that much attack. He's your TK machine, and you'll summon him often by using a sword and him in the graveyard. 1 copy of Sun Saga. He's a level 10, so he doesn't come up too often. You basically have to have sword and Shogun Saga. But you can also have Squire Spectral Sword Shade and Squire Saga. But it doesn't come up too often, but he's really powerful, and he protects all your monsters, and he can pop a whole bunch of things when he's summoned. That's it for the zombie synchros. We have some links, Sucker. So one of your early plays is to, like I said, you use Spectral Sword Shade to summon Mizuki and another monster, and then you can make Vampire Sucker, and then you can immediately banish the Mizuki you just brought back to special summon another zombie and then draw a card. It's pretty decent. We have Vendread Savior, or Avendread Savior. It's to summon off your Vendread token because it's a Vendread monster. It also sends monsters from deck to graveyard, so that's pretty cool. You're playing a lot of fire monsters, so Hita doesn't come up too often. Your themed Link 3, Skill Saga Supremacy. It special summons your banished synchros, which is pretty handy because it can summon him on your opponent's turn, and when he's summoned, he banishes a monster from graveyard, which can be a Shiranui monster to use another effect. And then we have generic synchros. Borlode Savage, Trishula, and Omega. All 3 decent cards in their own right.
Well, that was all for this wonderful deck profile. If you thought it was great, please like and subscribe. Peace out.